rebuilding. The catastrophic failure, a new start, physically, mentally, our careers, our businesses. Step back, first step, next step. The driver in me just wants to get it done tomorrow. We'll do this, do that, let's move this, where are we at with this? You build some confidence, build some self-esteem, start to feel better about yourself. The Silverback Blueprint Podcast, a show for men over 40. We focus on getting stronger, staying motivated, building discipline, creating a community, and becoming truly happy. Welcome to episode 197 of the Silverback Blueprint Podcast. How much runway do you have left? This is actually the way I think about things in the last little bit. You know, being 51 now, it's been a couple of months, I often think about how much time I have left. I like to use the word runway. It's a little more positive. When you think about an airplane landing or taking off, it needs a certain amount of space to do so, but it only has a certain amount of space and time to do so, to land or to take off. So I really like that concept. I like to think about that, and I like to think about it in those terms. Again, we're going to be great English today. And it's a question that I'm often thinking about. And it's funny because some days I find it very motivating, and some days it actually beats me down a bit. And it really depends on where my mindset is, where my energy level is, and really what's going on. If I'm having a day where I feel like I'm achieving a lot, we're moving forward, things are growing, all the things are positive, then I feel like it's very motivating and I'm moving towards the right thing and I've got time, but I've got to push. But then when we have days where things just don't seem to go our way, no matter what, we all have those days. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, we're in a world of Facebook and Instagram where people are only showing their best for the most part. You look at some people and you think, Jesus, they've got the perfect life and everything's achieved and it's coming to them and they need wheelbarrows and shovels for all the money and the fame and stuff. But that's not the way it is. And that's not the way it is for anybody. And I think what's important, and I think it's important for me, is I always try to be a little more real with myself, but also with you guys, is that there's days where you're going to want to just burn everything down to the ground. There's days where you're going to want to not get out of bed. There's days where you're going to wonder, what the fuck are you doing? And we're going to have those days, whether we're working towards our purpose or whether we're stuck and we're wallowing and we feel lost. So what's important, I think, to understand is that those days happen, period. So given that context, I'd much rather have those days happening while I'm still moving towards goals and objectives, while I'm still trying to live out my purpose and create that life that I want personally, business-wise, brand-wise, relationship-wise. I'd rather have it under those circumstances because overall I'm still moving forward. Overall, I'm still getting the things done that are important to me. And I think it'd be a lot harder and a lot tougher on you if you're having those days where you're not doing any of those things, where you're stuck in that job that's miserable, where you're drowning in debt or drowning in emotional turmoil. Because you're going to have those days there, and I think you're going to have a lot more of them, and they're going to be a lot harder on you if you're in that situation. So I think it's really cool to also look at that concept and use it again as a checkpoint. Am I where I want to be? I think that's a great question we need to ask ourselves. And I like to ask it often when I'm in the middle of a lot of different scenarios. Not just when things are going good, not just when I'm at work, not just when things are going bad, but I ask myself that during workouts sometimes. I ask myself that during when I'm working on business stuff. I ask that sometimes when I'm doing relationship stuff, when I'm hanging with my kids or dealing with my children or my wife. Am I where I want to be? Is this where I want things to be? I think it's a great question. I think it ties in well with how much runway do we have left? When the days are tougher, I start asking myself, do I have enough time to get these things done? Sometimes I feel like I'm running out of time. Sometimes I feel like I'm running out of energy. One of the big switches about me switching over from powerlifting to bodybuilding and losing, about 80 pounds, 81 pounds at this point, is there definitely is a difference in my energy. But that energy sometimes comes at me at ways and at times that I don't expect it. Sometimes it comes out to me in frustration. Sometimes it comes to me when I'm angry about something. Sometimes it comes to me when I'm doing the things I want to do, when I'm working out, when I'm having a great meeting, when I'm working on a concept, when I'm making a shirt, when I'm at a meet. But having more energy means you just have more energy. So the things that you're feeling will be amplified. That's what I find for myself. So it's almost, I find like the intensity increases everywhere. But what I like about thinking about the runway is that more often than not, it helps me and pushes me to stay focused on my target, on my purpose, what I'm trying to achieve. I know a lot of people around me in the last year, the last few years for sure, but definitely in the last year and the last 6 months have noticed I'm a lot more direct about things. I'm a lot more purpose driven, even more than I am, because I think of that influence of the runway. I also want to take advantage of all the opportunities that are coming our way. And sometimes I have to sit back and look at things and say, hey, listen, what needs to change? Because I don't want to waste time. I want to limit how much energy I'm wasting. So sometimes we need to have a difficult conversation to address the situation so we can move forward. Sometimes we have to have a conversation with someone we just haven't had in a while because they're still important to us, but we've gotten a little focused with other things. And I find those things are the things that I think about when I think about the length of the runway that's left. It really makes me want to focus on making sure that whatever runway I have left, it's quality. That I'm spending my time in the light that I want to be in, of positivity, creativity, thankfulness, mindfulness, but also driven to help people do the same thing, feel the same thing, and also start to really cut back on the excuses. There's no time for excuses anymore. At 51, I like to believe I'm halfway through. I've set a goal for myself to live to be 100. But I don't want to wait till 82 to really get to the point where I want things to be. I want to get there in my 50s so that in my 60s, I can go to an even higher level. But I can also reap the benefits at an even higher level. And to me, that's what looking at how much runway we have left magnifies that and puts it in perspective. You know, when we're young, we feel we can't get old fast enough. When we're in our teens, we can't wait to be 20-something. When we're 20-something, we can't wait to be 30-something. But then our 40s hit, and all of a sudden we want to slow the clock down. In the 50s, we want to slow the clock down. And sometimes what I hear a lot, especially in my circles, at 50s, people are giving up. They're done. It's too hard. It doesn't matter anyway. These are the things I hear. But I know deep down they're miserable. And I know deep down that they wish they could be doing these things. I don't accept the excuse anymore when someone comes in, they're in 50s, I can't do that anymore, I'm 50. I'm like, bullshit, because I'm 50. And I tell them right now, there's nothing special about me other than the fact that I'm just decided that I'm going to live my best life with every year that I move forward. It's going to get better. But I have to put the work in for that. I have to put the work in my business. I have to put the work into my relationships. I have to put the work in my training, in my food, in my mindset. Because the runway is getting shorter. But the advantage we have is that at this stage in our life, we have so many skills and assets at our fingertips. A lot of times we don't realize it because we're caught in the doom and gloom of feeling sorry for ourselves or suffering with our health, suffering with our energy, suffering with our poor mindset. But we have connections, we have relationships, we have assets, some financial, some physical, some mental, that we need to turn around and say, listen, what do I have? What are the tools that I have? What are the assets that I have? What's in my war chest? And let's start using that. Because the one thing we do have is experience and knowledge. But we have to be honest about that. And when we're truly honest about, what we really do know and what we don't know, then we can work from there. We can build on that. I want people to stop doing things they don't want to do anymore. And when I say that, I mean big picture. I don't like pulling the tarp off the pool, but you know what? I'm pretty happy once the pool that's off and I can get the pool guy in to open it up for me so I can swim. That's not what I'm talking about. You still got to do some shit stuff along the way. But what I don't want people to do, what I don't want to do is spend 40 hours a week doing things that make me miserable. I don't want to waste my weekends thinking about what I have to deal with on Monday. So what I want to do this week is solve those things before Monday comes along. Limit some of the stress. You can't remove it all, but work on these things to make it better. Put some of that work in, the behind the scenes work, the stuff you do when no one's looking. I know for myself, what usually happens is things build up for me and I catch myself feeling sorry for myself. I catch myself feeling frustrated. I catch myself wanting to burn everything down and everyone in it. But what I've done now is when I find I hit that spot, when I reach that point, it's my sign to sit down and really think about what's causing this. What's not getting done? What am I not doing? What uncomfortable task, conversation, or aspect am I not taking care of that's really causing this? Because I don't want to stay in that state. I don't want to be in that state. But there's a reason why I'm in that state. So when I sit down and I'm honest with myself and I write things out and I look at the things that have to get done, and I'm at that point where I've had enough, I'll move mountains to get it done. So at the end of the day, I like to keep the thought of how much runway is left. We can achieve an amazing amount of things done in a small amount of time once we're properly motivated, inspired, and have that purpose in mind. We've created the why, and we make that why so large, so powerful that nothing or no one, including ourselves, is allowed to get in the way. The runway is getting shorter, but I want to make that rest of the runway phenomenal. That's all I have to say on that for now, guys. Head on over to iTunes, give us a positive review, a 5-star rating. As always, guys, head on over to Iron Hoss Gear, pick out an amazing, I only have so much runway left hoodie. Use the code word Silverback to save 20%. And work hard, motherfuckers, and I'll talk to you guys later.